That night, Taehyung took him to a whole new world. By the sea, where a table and 2 chairs were laid, waiting for the both of them. To say that it looked beautiful was an understatement, because it looked magnificent. It took Jungkook's breath away when he saw it. The way the lights that the candles produced brightened up the almost darkening sky was just stunning. Some staff from the resort accommodated them and brought the feast to them. Some people stayed to play them some romantic yet slow music. They ate while talking about random things, and after that, they requested to take the table and chairs away so they could lie down on a thick cloth. They were left alone, sitting beside each other as they watched the sunset and the moon rise. They sat quietly under the stars, watching the moon's reflection as it shimmered on the calm water of the lagoon. Jungkook loved it. But he loved it even more because it was Taehyung who was sitting beside him, wrapping his arms around his waist as he rested his head on his shoulder. He wished this would go on forever and nothing to stop it. He wished they could stay like this, feeling their love for each other, even though it was unspoken. You know what? Taehyung spoke all of a sudden, breaking the long but comfortable silence between them. The younger hummed as an answer, indicating for him to continue. I've never been this afraid. Jungkook looked at him, tilting his head to the side as his confusion rose to his head. Afraid? He was afraid? Right now? Why? He asked, voice ever so soft as to not come out hungry for an answer. Taehyung shifted his eyes from the sky to Jungkook's eyes. They held the same stars. He smiled, a thing he would often do nowadays. Because I've never been this happy, he replied. Jungkook didn't know he could fall even harder for someone. Taehyung's eyes glided down to Jungkook's lips for a second before they came climbing back up to his eyes. He never once had a huge urge to crush his lips to someone else's, but then Jungkook reached fast into his life. He introduced him to new feelings, and tonight, Taehyung hoped he will be introduced to another more. Slowly, he leaned in towards the younger. Jungkook's soft eyes widened in surprise and he stiffened. Are you going to kiss me? Jungkook's question snapped his eyes open and he leaned back to see the younger's face. He chuckled, seeing Jungkook blushing red and looking down to hide his shyness. Taehyung lifted his chin to face him, the smile on his lips never leaving, which brought more heat to Jungkook's cheeks. Actually, he trailed off, dragging his thumb across the younger's lower lip. And that was it. The older pulled him closer, smashing his lips to the younger's and feeling its softness. Jungkook gasped, surprised by the sudden action, but then let himself be engulfed by the sweet kiss. The kiss was slow, chaste at its finest, and nothing like the kiss they first shared. It was not their first kiss, but it felt like it was their real first kiss. For the first time, Taehyung felt his heart go wild in his chest. He was a stranger to this kind of feeling. He was confused at first because what was this flowery feeling inside his chest? It was not pride. It was not ego either. Was it assurance? Or was it love? No. Love was a big word, a big thing, and he was just too small to be overcome by love because right now, his whole being was beaming. Love was a big thing for such a small person like him. Love brought people together, it was that powerful, and he was a weak link. But Jungkook, he made him stronger. And now, his whole being, from his head to toe, every inch of his personality, with each organ in his body, and every single brain cell he has, was in love with him. Oh God, he was in love with Jungkook. Jungkook felt so high as if he was on drugs, and he didn't want to stop now. He was this high, and there was no going back down. He would rather be stuck here than fall alone. He never felt so happy for so long, and he was becoming afraid because obviously, Jungkook and Happy didn't stay in one sentence for too long. But this was heaven, and he was in it right now, so bad thoughts were not welcomed here. And now, Taehyung was included in his sentence, so maybe Happy would stay. Because Jungkook was happy with Taehyung. There were "I love you" said. After the kiss, they wrapped each other again in a tight hug, facing the calm water, under the shining stars and bright moon. They were satisfied. Their smiles didn't leave their lips until they went back to their room, this time cuddling on their bed. Nothing was certain still. But for now, this was enough. Their love was quiet, but, for a split minute, it was sure. Their Maldives trip eventually came to an end, and it felt so quick for the two, because now, they were back to their usual schedules again. Although now, Jungkook could say that he enjoyed because it felt more real now. When Taehyung went back home after work, he would kiss his cheeks as a greeting, and afterward, they would cuddle until Jungkook felt sleepy or fell asleep while watching TV, which Taehyung didn't have the heart to complain to. Taehyung might be tired after a long day of work, but whenever Jungkook would fall asleep on him, he would carry him to his, Taehyung's, room without hesitation and sleep together on his bed. Thus, mornings for both of them became much more fulfilling and complete. To make Jungkook's following days more productive and not boring, Taehyung allowed him to meet his friends 3 times a week since his friends still worked for him. Some days, he would visit Taehyung's parents with his consent, and even though his father didn't talk much, he still enjoyed their company, thanks to Taehyung's mother, who did everything to make him feel comfortable. She was the one who was always excited to talk to Jungkook. To talk about his first visit, he was welcomed with the sweet aroma of baked cookies, and a huge excited smile from his mother-in-law. Turned out Taehyung notified them of his visit. They talked about their vacation trip in the Maldives, and Jungkook was just so shy to explain it, but Taehyung's mother understood. The couple finally had the chance to share their feelings with one another, and she was happy for them. When it was time to go home, he was given a bag of white chocolates, and he was so happy that he hugged his mother-in-law so tight for a whole 3 minutes.